The Vegas Forward podcast delves into the lives of the people in our community, uncovering not only what they do, but who they are. Business may keep our city strong, but it's the individuals that continue to create, innovate, and push Vegas forward. All right, welcome to the Vegas Forward podcast. Got a good friend, and it's super excited to have you on, Michael Sheedy of Michael Sheedy Fitness. Welcome to the show, Mike. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, dude, I'm happy to be here. We've been talking about doing this for a while, and I'm honored because I know you've had some pretty cool names here in Vegas and entrepreneurs. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. So start off by telling us a little bit about Michael Sheedy Fitness and currently what you're doing.
Michael Sheedy Fitness is the fitness company I own. I run a personal training company. Specifically, I also do nutrition coaching and have expanded this year. I currently have 3 employees, 4 including myself. So the business is growing. I've been personal training myself for 10 years, but really grateful to have the business I have now. Just recently hired another trainer to be able to train more people because I only have so many hours in the day.
Sure.
So just specialize primarily in personal training and nutrition coaching, and cool. Business is going well. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah. So one of the things I love to do on the Vegas Forward podcast is kind of delve deep into kind of your background and your history. So because what I've known as a pattern through all the successful entrepreneurs we've had on the show is there's a pattern with regards to some of the struggles or failures they've had, or grind that they've put in to get to where they are today. Right. And so I want to start off when you growing up. Like, where are you originally from? Give us a little background. If you do brothers, sisters, tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah. So and you're completely right. I mean, it's interesting because people will see where you're at and your successes, especially with social media. It's all highlights. So they don't see a lot of the grind and the grunt work that was put in for years before. And even you, like where you're sitting in your chair, owning, the business that you have, you have 2, businesses that are running the successful, ad agency and another tech company. People don't see the hours and hours that led up to where you're at now, where you have a pod, like this room is awesome. You have a podcast room in your office. Like this is sick. So, for me, there's been a ton of work, and, I look back and look at the years and hours put in, and it makes me feel proud of where I'm at. So I always try to be grateful for having this success I have, even though, I'm not complacent and want to achieve more. So that being said, it's definitely been a grind. My first personal training job, I made $8 a session. There were 30-minute sessions at the Gold's Gym here in Vegas, which we don't have any Gold's Gym anymore. Yeah. They're all EOS. But I was making $30 a session training, senior citizens. But I look back at that, and it was more of an, earning my stripes type moment to be able to be in the position I am today, where, I have, majority of my clients are, high-level entrepreneurs, a lot of successful people now that I'm able to work with, as my clientele has changed over the year. And, of course, I've been able to charge more for my services, now, having 3 employees as well. So come a long way from where my point to that was, making $8 a session to where I am today. And
without a doubt,
a lot of story in between then. So I'm just trying to go hhigh level with you on that.
Yeah. So you grew up here though? Like, tell us a little bit about your upbringing. Like,
So born and raised in Las Vegas.
Okay.
I'm 29, so lived here for 29 years. Grew up pretty in humble beginnings. Moved around a lot as a kid. Lower income as well. Started getting into sports. I raced dirt bikes growing up. I raced BMX bikes.
Oh, cool.
I got into skateboarding, and then competitively as well. So I've always competed, because I competed in BMX racing. I competed in dirt bike racing. I competed in skateboarding, and then I started playing football, and I competed in football.
Is that all? What age were you doing all that?
So BMX racing, I was doing at 10 years old.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was already, eating shit and picking myself up off the ground. And I look back and at the things, adversity that I purposely was put through. And I think that's really helped mold my character as well.
Yeah.
I think not a lot of kids get that as much today as we did growing up, right?
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, we still didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had to get outside and, get dirty.
It's a whole different life back then, right?
It was, there's pros and cons, right? Because
Sure.
I love tech. I mean, we wouldn't be here on the podcast if we didn't have
Sure.
it, right?
Sure.
But yeah, so I think that helped mold my character. So raced BMX, and then I raced dirt bikes. That was, competitive and very dangerous. And then that was from like 12 to 14. And then I started skateboarding 14 to 16.
Okay.
And then I played football my last 2 years of high school, which was a lot of fun and, definitely, taught me some discipline as well. And that's where I got into weightlifting.
Okay.
So I started weightlifting in high school to bulk up for football.
Yep.
And kind of fell in love with the process of the discipline that it takes and kind of building the confidence from seeing your body
you loved
change.
it right away, huh?
I actually fell in love with working out because I've always been the type of person that like I have to be active. I'm not somebody who can just sit down all day.
Yeah.
So being on my feet, that's why personal training, for me is, honestly, ideal because I'm on my feet. I'm talking to people.
You're
I'm
not
active.
sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah, and I don't mind computer work. I do that now for
Sure.
my business. But it's for me, being active is a part of really who I am. So it's a easy translation for my lifestyle with working out and helping other people find their passion and
That's awesome.
or accomplish their goals, I should say, in fitness.
So where'd you go to high school?
So I went to high school, Silverado High School. It's
Okay.
actually, I think, like 5 minutes from here.
Yeah.
So kind of been in the same area. As far as that goes, because I don't live far from here now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so graduated from high school and then tried college. Wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I did.
Where'd you go?
CSN.
Okay.
So I thought I wanted to be a firefighter. So
Yeah.
I went into the Explorers program, which is like paramilitary for the fire department.
Oh, cool.
So it's like, you're in dress slacks and you tuck in your t-shirt and you do a lot of PT. So they have you, grabbing these heavy hoses, carrying them upstairs with full equipment. I'm running miles. We're doing all that. So that was fun. I enjoyed the physical part of potentially becoming a fireman. Went to school for it and just realized just that wasn't really for me, that career path. Neither was college. I had a really hard time concentrating.
Yeah.
And I'm not anti-school because I do feel like it's important that people go to school for certain trades, like become a doctor,
Sure.
or legal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of education involved in that. But I found my path was educating myself and teaching myself in things that I was passionate about, which I couldn't really get out of college.
Yeah.
The only thing I look back and would have been fun to do was like a marketing degree.
Sure.
I look at people with marketing degrees and in today's day and age, as you own an ad agency,
Yeah.
you can definitely apply that to what we do because everything is marketing.
But the internet has a wealth of information.
And you have
There's a lot-
YouTube, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So I've read books on marketing that now have translated into me being more successful in my branding in my business.
Yeah.
So yeah, tried college, dropped out of college just because I wasn't enjoying it. And
Sure.
it was really hard to concentrate. And
What'd you do right after school?
so I was always working. I moved out when I was 18.
Okay.
So, fresh out of high school, I wanted to move out. I wanted to be independent. I like the idea of living on my own. And I always had the mindset of like hustling and making it work for myself, because I came from lower income.
Yeah.
I had to figure out, I couldn't fall back on my parents, and nothing against them because they did the best possible job they could. And I know they did. My mom is an incredible woman. And just, she was a, single parent trying to support, 2 kids.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but because of that, I'm grateful because it taught me to, I had to show up for myself, right?
Yeah.
No one was going to save me. So, I got a job right when I turned 18. Before 18, I worked at Subway, but then I ended up working at a restaurant, a Yard House, supported myself, moved out. So living on my own, working to provide for myself, and then, decided I wanted more as well.
Sure.
Right. So, I actually got fired from Yard House.
Okay.
And that's
What did you do, Michael?
So what's funny? Yard House, shout out Yard House. Actually, they have incredible, it's like high-end bar food. It's
very good.
Dude, it's great food.
Yeah.
To this day, I go back and I'm like, man, their food is good.
Yeah, it's solid.
And it's a solid atmosphere, but extremely corporate and nothing against them, but I was late twice. I think one of the managers didn't like me much. I had a little bit of an ego at the time. So he was like, you're out, 2 strikes, you're out. It wasn't even, I don't even think it was 3 strikes.
Yeah.
So got fired from there, and it was, at the time, it was, devastating. But that's when I already had a personal training certification, but I wasn't a personal trainer.
And how old were you at this time?
20.
Okay.
So when I was 19, I started studying. I always had a passion for fitness, right? So I started studying a personal training certification just to educate myself on the body. I wasn't even aware that would be a career path or something that would turn into me now sitting today at your podcast telling my story, which is really cool if you think about it. It's like a butterfly effect, right?
Yeah.
So if I wouldn't have got fired from Yard House, I probably wouldn't be here with you.
And we've all been there. You know, like I have stories like that. I got fired from a job. I was so upset. And didn't show up, partied all night, and didn't show up to work. And the whole trajectory of my life changed from that happening. So
in a positive way.
In a positive way.
Yeah. So there was silver lining. So so I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this personal training certification to use. Let me go, make some extra money, Again, like I have to figure out a way to pay rent. So 20 years old, got a job at Gold's Gym, $8 a session. Only did it for like 2 months, and I was like, man, this money is not good. Yeah. And they were super strict there. They made you tuck in your shirt, and I was like, man, I don't want to tuck my shirt in. This job sucks, So I was like, another trainer was like, hey, I'm going to work at another gym. How about you have to pay overhead. You have to pay rent. You come to this gym. All you need is one client, and then the rest of the money is yours. I'm like, I got this.
Great, yeah.
So I got one client.
What gym was this?
It was actually called Iron House.
Okay.
It's not around anymore, but it was a smaller gym. Husband and wife owned it. Really cool people, really great atmosphere. Just like very like a serious gym, but there was a lot of personal trainers that worked out of there that were really cool. So I kind of fit into that, that gym and that atmosphere. Started making some money, and then I actually found a mentor at that gym, Derek Perdue. So that's where at Iron House is where I met Derek Perdue, which is actually a good friend of ours. Yeah. So I worked for him for 2 years because he's like, hey man, like I need a trainer to work for me. I see you got a couple clients. I can get you more and I'll mentor you and I'll teach you how to be a better trainer. And I've always been very open-minded to learning new things, knowing that I don't know everything. Sure. There's people there's people that have done what I want to do. So he took me under his wing, which was awesome. And in 2 years, I learned so much from him, and then I was able to take that on my own, and now run the business kind of that I am today.
Cool. So when you were at Iron House, how long were you there? You were there for a couple months?
We were there. So because I was working for Derek at the time, we were there for probably a year.
Okay.
And then they had to shut down. The owners of the gym got a divorce. I think it got a little messy. So unfortunately, it was an incredible spot, but it got shut down. So we ended up moving to a gym called Anytime Fitness in Seven Hills, which is an area on the south side of Vegas over there. And that was an awesome gym there. So we worked there for another 2 years, and then we transferred to another gym over here, and that's where I run my business solely.
And I think one of the cool things about your story, and because I know a little bit about your background, is
you know a little bit. You've heard some of this.
Yeah, and you worked over at Stack, where my cousin works, for a while, and
right.
And I'll let you tell the story. But to me, what was impressive is how you. And a lot of people are scared to do this, but you work 2 jobs, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I spaced on that side of the story. So like I said, I think just in my character, I've always found a way to make something happen. So I was working 2 jobs to be able to, afford more so not only afford rent, but I've never been the one to penny pinch. Like if I want to, buy a steak, I'm going to buy a steak. So I wanted to work 2 jobs so that I can afford my lifestyle, and it costs a lot of money to be able to, it can be expensive to afford like a quote unquote bodybuilding style diet, with the amount of protein you have to consume. So I had to support myself that way. So I was working 2 jobs. I was working in food and beverage, and then I was doing the personal training for Derek at the time and working for him. So I worked at Stack. I got hired there when I was 20. So around the same time that I started doing personal training at that gym, I also got the job at Stack, which was such a great opportunity at the time. At that age, making really good money working on the strip. And at the time, that restaurant was owned,
were you a waiter day
was
one?
Owned by Light Group. What's that?
Were you a waiter day one?
No, so I was always a food runner. The server, every server there probably worked there for like 15 years.
Yeah, it's hard to break in.
It's one of the hardest positions to break into in these restaurants on the Strip, because these people are literally making over six figures, working 25 to 30 hours a week. So it's like none of these people want to get out of these positions, which I understand. Yeah. But I was making really good money too, food running. Yep. So I was grateful again for that opportunity. Light Group ran the restaurant at the time, and a little bit about Light Group and how they operate. So we were doing really well. We had a lot of celebrities in there all the time, but I was able to leverage my schedule, and I worked there for 5 years. But the last 2 years I worked there, I primarily was pouring 75 to 80% of my time into personal training, to the point to where the day came 4 years ago when I was able to quit the job altogether. And I remember that day, and like you said, it's a risk that you take, because financial security isn't guaranteed in entrepreneurship.
No.
So I went from a job that had financial security in, and knowing that,
and great benefits too, all that.
The schedule, you don't have to worry about it when you go home, versus you run a business, you understand this. Yeah. When you leave your business, you have to take it home with you. Correct. There's emails, there's text messages, there's work that you have to do because you're the owner of the business. So, I understood that risk that I was taking without the financial security, and decided to become a full-time, business owner, personal trainer, entrepreneur at 25, and quit the job, and
So let's talk a little bit more about when you're doing both.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about that.
Okay.
So what days you remember, like how many days you're working over at Stack?
I mean, I've always just had a high work ethic personally. I've never shied away from work. I know, what it's going to take, to accomplish big things, and I don't care where you're at. You got to work hard, and then figure out how to work smart. So, I was working 5 nights a week at Stack and 5 days a week of personal training. So I would wake up, I would start my day, and I would personal train from probably 9 a.m. till 3 or 4 p.m. So 4 p.m. So let's say 7 hours. So 9 to 4. And then I'd probably work out in between there somewhere. Yeah. And then I would start at Stack at 5:30 or 6 and work till 1.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
it's a rinse, wash, repeat.
Yeah, and that was 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how many hours, maybe 12 to 14 hours a day for 5 days a week. Yeah. So I was working 75-hour weeks.
But you put in the effort to get what you wanted.
Right. Exactly. Ultimately, yeah. I mean, it was I think age is always a thing. Like when you're young, like you should be hustling, because you have the vivaciousness to be able to do it. Right. Correct, so, and I still feel like, dude, I'm 29. Like I have so much energy, and I recognize that. And so, so I was just, 75, 80 hours a week, which is not ideal or sustainable. That's why I positioned myself and leveraged that job to be able to start my own business.
And that's something I've read. How many times you read that, right? Is like people are always like, it's great having a job because you have the security of the financial security. Yep. But there's no better time to go and start your own thing.
You got it.
You just got to be willing to put in that time. And
exactly.
And I think that's what most people are scared of change and risk.
Yeah.
But I think people don't want to pull the trigger on being able to put in that much effort, right? Like it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think people overcomplicate it. Mm-hmm. And I saw a quote recently that I really liked. I posted it on my story yesterday. It said, stop overthinking and start over executing.
Yeah.
Because you'll figure it out on the way. And that's kind of how I've always done things. I've done my homework and educated myself in whatever field I'm getting into, but nothing beats execution, so that's what I did. I just executed on, okay, what's my vision? I have a passion. I legit have a passion for fitness. Yep. I love working out myself. I want to help other people. The feeling I get when I see somebody building confidence because they're accomplishing their goals, they're literally shaving or they're adding years to their life.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
It actually, it's so much job fulfillment versus running steak and wings to somebody's table on the Strip. Right. Yeah. So that was my motivating factor, going to one job that I didn't love and then being able to go to another one that was a career and something that could, I could pour more of my heart and soul into.
And you made the sacrifice because there's no way day one were you making the kind of money you were making over at Stack, but you knew
without a doubt I
needed to make X to be able to leave.
Right.
And that was the number one priority.
You got it.
And then I can go full force into doing what you're doing now. So
You got it.
tell me a little bit about quitting Stack, not the specifics of quitting, but what that felt like, and also what it was like day one where you're like, oh shit,
Yeah,
I'm on my own now. You know?
That's great. Yeah. So I've always had people that I've looked up to that have, that I've bounced ideas off of. There's some of my friends are older than me that have more success than me, that have, make more money than I do. And, I like to surround myself with people like that because they have life experience. So,
Sure.
I went to a friend and that's done really well in business. And I said, hey, what do you think about this? He goes, do it.
Yeah.
He's like, you have, it is a risk, but I know that you'll succeed, and it's sink or swim, and typically you're going to swim. So the risk sounds much scarier in your head than it actually is. So I remember the last, when I put my final 2 weeks in and sending that email over, it was a big deal. I remember it being scary, but within 2 weeks, I realized how much more energy and attention I could pay to the new business.
Yeah.
And literally within a year, my business catapulted, and I was making, I was actually making more focusing on just a personal training business than I was working 2 jobs at once.
Which is amazing. Yeah. And it took you just a year or two to do it.
1 year, but that's a culmination of 5 years of work before that.
Correct.
So my year 1 was really year 6.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is year 9.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big leap, and I've done it before too. And,
Right.
and it's scary, but I'm the same as you. Like, you got to believe in yourself.
Right.
And you're like, if you want something, you just got to go out and get it done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's pretty incredible you've done that.
Self-belief. And I think intrinsically, entrepreneurs have self-belief.
Yeah.
Intrinsically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think that's also a massive separating factor when it comes to taking risks in business, is knowing that you'll make it happen somehow.
Yeah.
And that comes from trusting yourself because you have been able to keep promises to yourself in the past with the work that you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people struggle, and that's discipline.
Yeah, no, definitely. So when you first started out, right, when you're over at Anytime Fitness now, tell me a little bit about when you first started, like your process with your customers. I'm sure it's evolved dramatically to the point where you have a lot more knowledge now, right, over 9 years.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, year 1, let's say, of my, doing my thing and just doing personal training and owning my business and grinding and all that, as far as working with clients. I mean, as far as my systems and my processes and my professionalism, it's leaps and bounds where it was. I've always had an edge because I am very attentive and ambitious when it comes to being the best I can in my space. And I feel like that's what separates me, first of all.
Yeah.
But what's changed is I've been able to really pay attention more to the details of my service and the professionalism that I provide to a client that comes and sees me. Not only that, I hired an admin assistant as well that's been working with me for the last, he's been working with me since I think late 2019. So I hired him after year 1. So he's been working with me now for 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's helped a lot because I've been able to delegate a lot of the tasks that used to take up quite a bit of time.
Sure.
And now it looks more professional because I'm able to have, somebody else handle my scheduling, payments from clients, any other communications that come with admin work. And I'm able to focus really on what I'm good at, which is helping people to accomplish their fitness goals in the gym and the coaching side of things as well.
Yeah.
So the process has improved tremendously from a system standpoint, business systems, and also professionalism when it comes to my ability to help a client.
Yeah, and I've seen the clientele you have now at the gym. It's pretty amazing. I see guys from the nights walking in.
Yeah,
and
dude.
It's pretty cool because
Yeah.
I mean, I've been working out with you for a few years now. It doesn't look like it.
Nah, dude,
I'm not diligent enough.
No, dude, you've come a long way.
Yeah,
You when you started with me, you were 15, 16 pounds heavier of straight fat, and so you're one of those guys I consider, a higher level entrepreneur, like more of, the clientele that I surround myself with now. So,
and it's tough, from my perspective, I've got, as 2 kids, the 2 businesses, there's a lot of stress. And one of the things people are always like, you know how to lift, like, why do you have a trainer? Yeah. And my answer is very simple. Like, number one, I know myself, right? accountability is a big thing, I think, when you hire a personal
Very
trainer.
big. Yeah.
And also I like to say that I'm almost paying for a psychiatrist at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Because you've helped me out a lot, I think, with challenges I have during the day. There's not a lot of people that I personally have to be able to vent to.
Right.
And a lot of your
that
clients
rapport,
are probably similar, right? They're busy people. A lot of them, own their own businesses, and so it's I'm constantly learning from you as well, which is awesome,
Appreciate that.
right?
So appreciate it. That means a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you help. I mean, I see what you've done for your clients. I've seen dramatic transformations with a lot of the people.
Thank you, brother. Yeah.
And you work with people that are training for competition.
Yep.
All the way down to your single mom, if you will, that wants to just get in shape.
Yeah. Yeah.
What type of clients do you typically look for? Is an ideal customer of yours?
Yeah. So I feel like that's evolved over the years, right? As my service has improved as well. I like to work with people that want to improve and are ready to work hard. Of course, me training a mom of two kids who is an accountant, and the way I train her is going to be a little bit different than how I train, a guy who's looking to put on, 10 pounds of muscle and is getting ready for, a competition. Let's have you, which I don't really train a lot of competitors. I'm just making that, differentiation. So, my style of training molds to each individual, which is also why I'm at where I'm at, because I'm able to read each client and know the programming changes with each person, right? And that comes really from years and years and years of experience, because I can't give everybody the same program. But I want people to I like to work with clients that get results because they are committed to getting results, and really anything else doesn't align with me. So I think I attract that clientele because that's who I am as well.
Well, it's got to be frustrating for you to put your heart and soul into a customer, and they don't give a shit.
But again, right? Like, it's also what you charge for your service, right? Yeah. Like, if you're charging a low amount for a service, you're going to get somebody who's not very committed. So when people ask for discounts, I already know they're not committed.
Yeah.
And that's not really somebody I want to work with. And same thing with you. You guys, I know for a fact, your AdLava is an incredible business, and you guys offer great services for marketing and the web development and everything you guys do. Of course, it costs some money, but if you want a certain return, you got to be willing to put in the investment, and that's how I look at it from a personal training standpoint. As far as time allocation and also the value, because it is a luxury. Personal training isn't a necessity, right? I'm not selling something that people need, although I do feel like some people do need it, and it does benefit people, but it is something that's definitely a luxury that not everybody can afford, and that's okay, because I'm not for everybody. But the people that I do help, the people that I've had a pleasure of helping, it means so much to me to be able to see them make those changes in their life, especially if it's worth it to them. I think you can't really put a price on health, no,
without a doubt.
So I think your price, your health is priceless.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So one of the things I want to talk about too, and not to get too personal, but I think one of the things that amazes me about you, and I always tell you, because you're a young guy, I mean, I wish I was doing in my 20s. I wish I was as focused. I owned a business back then too, but I was a hot mess in my opinion, right? Like, there's a lot more I wish I would have done in my 20s, right?
Yeah.
But you've battled through family challenges. Not to bring up, you lost your sister in the last year. And one of the things I learned from you, honestly, and I think is admirable, is that you take a tragedy or some challenge and you turn it into a positive, or it helps motivate you to be better for your family or other people. Tell me a little bit about the way you think and the way you look at stuff like that, because everyone deals with tragedies and issues, and I think use it somewhat as a crutch to say, I can't do these things because of this.
Yeah.
And I'm similar. I think I give you more credit because I think you're even stronger in that way. But what is your mindset when you deal with adversity and how you overcome that?
To be honest, some of it is self-taught, and then I've honed in on personal development, and that's really what's been a game changer for me. I started reading personal development books when I was 20 years old. The first book I ever read was a philosophy book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. If you guys haven't read it, read it. It's not just for men. It's a way of thinking that transcends time. It doesn't matter what year it was written in, because it was written in the early 1900s. It still applies to today. And my thought is, perspective is everything, right? We can't always choose what happens to us, but we can choose our response to what happens to us. And this goes back to when I was 18 years old. When I was trying to get my life together, I didn't have a car. I had to ride the bus. To work every single day. I rode the bus to Subway. It was grueling. It was embarrassing at the time. But that experience molded my character and taught me to push through adversity, because I could have used that as an excuse to, get into drugs, get into drinking, and
escape.
I can't go to work because I have to ride the bus, or I can't get ahead because I don't have a car. I grinded until I could save up enough money to buy a car, to get me to a job, to move out, and that's what molded my character to now, I believe, where I go through things in life, and instead of letting it hold me back, I use it more as fuel, because if I can overcome this, I know that I can use it as an experience that I can teach other people to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's where if you can look at something that happens to you, if you look at it as, okay, this sucks, right?
Yeah.
But if I can overcome this, people will look at me as an example, and they'll feel strength because of my strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where really my motivation comes from. It's not as much selfishly motivated as it's motivated so that I can help other people.
Which is what you do every day, right?
Yep.
So it's pretty cool. But I think that's a good lesson for a lot of people to learn, right?
Yep.
And it's
through hard times.
It's hard,
Yep.
I made the mistake, in my 20s of medicating with alcohol, right?
Like escaping.
And it was I was highly functioning, if you will, not like an alcoholic.
Yeah, no, you've always crushed it. You've always crushed it.
But when times got tough, I was like, oh, let me party on a Saturday, and you feel better, and then you just feel like shit.
But you're getting behind. You get behind.
You get tired, you get lazy, you eat like shit. I mean, everything, sleep terrible.
Yep.
And so it just kind of snowballs, and so you think you're doing well. But really, you could be doing so much better,
and you're escaping. You're not confronting things, and
correct.
I think that's another perspective change. Like, as far as you asked me about my mindset, there's two major qualities when it comes to overcoming adversity, and I don't care who you are. You go through adversity. I lost my sister tragically earlier this year in February, and I could have easily used that as an excuse to why I didn't succeed in business this year, why my health slipped, why I started, using drugs or alcohol, but instead, what, perspectively speaking, if you can take full responsibility for your emotions, if you can confront, which means to look at what's the adversity is in front of you, you will overcome it quicker. What many people tend to do, and there's a time when you can feel bad for yourself, but not for very long.
Yeah.
Maybe for one day, maybe even less sometimes, depending on the situation, and we all have our different, mourning processes, and I would never invalidate the way someone feels. But the longer you feel bad for yourself, the longer you're being taken away from helping other people.
Correct.
Right? So if you're able to look at a situation and say, okay, what's my responsibility in the situation? I'm responsible for myself, not anybody else. Yep. So you take responsibility for your emotions, and then you don't escape with entertainment, drugs, or alcohol. Whatever the problem is, you fully confront it. You assess what it is you need to improve, and then you put action towards improving it, and eventually you'll be in a better position.
What I love it. What recommendations you give? Because I can't be the only person out there, right? That has a busy life, has kids, married, runs around, to find time to do that, to make things happen, right?
Right.
I try to wake up a little earlier. No day goes planned perfectly.
Of course.
What do you recommend? I know you don't have kids yet, right?
No.
But at the same time, you have plenty of customers that do.
Yes.
What is some advice you give to people that have hectic schedules? Because I hear a lot of my friends like, oh, I don't have time to work out, right? And there's always time. I always hate that excuse.
Right.
I even use it sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But what are your recommendations for people that have really hectic, crazy lives, like to make time for something?
I think if you talk about hectic and crazy, I think there's some, lack of time management, and probably some lack of management of emotion as well.
Sure.
So I feel like, of course, like, I can't ever speak on, someone else and, how much they work and their responsibility for providing for their children. But there's always better choices to make, whether it's, not scrolling on your phone as much at night or in the morning, whether that's, getting a little bit of extra sleep and not watching Netflix, that's going to give you, more energy and a better mood to handle things the next day. Whether that's making healthier food choices, because I think that, Americans in general are overweight and lazy. And that's why other countries look at us and think we're entitled. And a lot of people are entitled. True. They feel like they deserve to look a certain way. They deserve to feel a certain way when they haven't really earned it. So you really have to audit yourself in your life and say, okay, am I making the healthiest food choices? Am I avoiding alcohol? Social drinking is okay, but the alcohol you're drinking, is that holding you back? Are you using, drugs of any kind that could be affecting your mental state, and ultimately that's, causing you anxiety, So a lot of people aren't able to really take full responsibility. And I think that's what it boils down to. I've talked to many, many people, and for the most part, there's always healthier choices to make. Even if you can't get in the gym, if you can go for a 10-minute walk out in the sun, twice a day, and you're eating healthy, you will improve your health. So even 2 10-minute walks a day with combined a healthy diet, your health will improve, and your blood markers will show that as well.
And there's also a lot of people that just can't get started. Like they're just tough. In a rut, and they're and they talk about it. They're like, okay, when this happens, I'm going to do it. What are some ways you nudge someone in the right direction, or advice you give people that just need to put one foot forward?
Such a great question. So I think where people, motivation is an interesting subject. People say, it's not motivation, it's discipline, which is true. But I think more importantly than motivation is your purpose, right? Hate to sound cliche, but what is your why? If you have a strong why, the what will be much easier, right? If your why is strong, if okay, so if you're a parent, right, and you're unhealthy, and you don't feel strongly and convicted behind improving your health, that tells me you don't care about your children as much as you possibly could, and you're being very selfish.
Good point.
Right?
Because if you're not healthy, how are your kids going to be, what happens, right?
Right, yeah. Or I look at what's my ability to impact my space, and that boils down to personal excellence, right? If I am doing everything I can to be better and to be my best self, I'm going to be a better brother. I'm going to be a better son. I'm going to be a better friend. I'm going to be a better leader. I'm going to be a better trainer. I'm going to be a better, what have you, mentor. But those things can only happen if you're connected to your purpose, and that's others, right? When you are living not just for yourself, for others, that's when your motivation is very high. So I think people try to connect to a selfish, instant gratification, when really being disciplined, delaying gratifications for a bigger reason other than just you will help you to accomplish your goals.
Gotcha. So it's not just like, I want to look good in the summer. It needs to be a bigger.
I always connect back. I always connect back to health. And health internally will create a more positive environment externally. And all those two combined, you'll look good in the process. I always tell my clients, right? Health first, looks second. Because if you just focus on looks, your health, it's very possible that you have bad health. But if you focus on your health, you can have good looks as well. Gotcha.
Makes sense. That's pretty cool. That's a good way to think about it. But I just know so many people, including myself, where I'm like, God, I'm going to start next Monday, and then Monday comes and whatever.
That's why I have a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's people that need accountability, and I have a coach myself. I talked a lot about in this podcast about looking up to people and getting advice from people that have more experience than I do. I right now have a coach that runs my nutrition program, because I want somebody to tell me, hey, this is what you're doing, and holds me accountable. And I'm looking to I'm actually hiring another coach right now for another business I'm getting into. So I think that, putting your ego aside, saying, hey, I don't know everything, I could use help in this area, is also a part of, of being a
There's always stuff to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what craft you're in, I mean, there's always new things, and there's always people that have done it, right? And having a mentor or paying someone to learn or befriending someone that can help you.
Right. Not saying you need to hire an expensive personal trainer.
Yeah.
But saying, hey, I don't know everything. I'm not my best self, and there's somewhere where I can improve.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I know your schedule. I mean, you're at the gym like, every freaking day. It seems like, and long days.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you manage your time to fit in, personal development, things like reading books. I know you read a ton of books.
Yeah.
Just your own, fitness, prepping food, like all that stuff. Like what is a typical schedule for you currently?
So my schedule is ever evolving. I've really worked on this year on scaling Michael Sheedy Fitness and making it an even, more impactful business and helping more people. That's why I brought on a trainer, that I've trained in my processes, and now he's helping clients. So I've dedicated more of my time to growing this business this year. But for that reason, I've also learned to delegate. And I think that's also important as an entrepreneur, is learning and being okay with letting go of things that you shouldn't be doing, as far as like getting your car detailed or, meal prep. I don't spend time cooking weekly, which saves me a lot of time. Right. Yeah. So I use a meal prep service. Shout out Foodie Fit. They help me to be able to have more time to dedicate to growing my business and helping people in the gym, and also giving me free time to be able to, if I want to hang out with friends on a Friday night, because I do think it's important. Like, what I've learned in the last year as well, like you can't grind 24/7.
No,
it's not sustainable. You need to take time for yourself, whether that's reading in the morning. Yep. So, or whether that's, going out to watch a movie or going out to dinner. I think that's, it's important to have some downtime and
balance,
and not always be working, because, you become less effective that way. So, my mind is always focused on getting better, but at the same time, understanding I need that time to reset. So for me, mornings are really important. I wake up, pretty early before my first client, probably about 3 hours or 3 to 3.5 hours before my first client. And that's when I get some time to be able to be mindful about my thoughts and being present. And that's where I'll get some reading in as well. Typically, train clients for a few hours. When I'm at the gym in between clients, I can get a workout in. Of course, I have all my meals with me at the gym, so I eat in between clients. Get off of work, and typically at night, I'm not as productive, just because I have so much mental energy that I've already drained for the day, and, and that's when I'm kind of winding down and
kind of relaxing.
I'll read at night as well sometimes,
gotcha. Depending
on if I was able to in the morning. So that's kind of a schedule. But I think delegation, just if you're an entrepreneur or even if you're anybody who's really busy, if you can delegate a lot of tasks in your life, your car detail, getting your house cleaned, getting your meals prepped for you, that'll free up so much time to be able to focus on personal development and business development. Yeah,
that's awesome. So one of the things that's awesome too that you're involved in, it's with Foodie Fit. And one of the things we want to talk about is how people like yourself contribute to the community.
Yeah,
you're involved in charitable work. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved in it. I know you were a big sponsor this year and put a lot of time, effort, and money into it.
Yeah, man, it's been this year has been really awesome. It started out tough with the loss of a family member for me, but the rest of this year has been incredible. We're going into the fourth quarter of the year. Which I'm excited about. There's a lot of good things coming up for me from a business standpoint, but being able to be a part of the Prep for School campaign, which was through Foodie Fit and Hans Schneider, which is a nonprofit organization.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Foodie Fit and Hans Schneider, which is a nonprofit organization that helps low-income children, teamed up for the 5th year in a row. They did a campaign called Prep for School. So this started 5 years ago, right? So this started back in 2017. I first got involved in 2018, and this last year was my 4th year doing it. So there's 1 year I didn't do it, but this last year it was my 4th year doing it. As far as being involved business wise, I think the first year I donated, I want to say $1,000 or $2,000. and then to be a part of the event. This year, I was able to donate $15,000 through my business, and I was one of 3 title sponsors. So the other 2 were Justin Blum with Raw Fitness, and then Marquise Lee with the Lee Foundation. So to be and those guys are incredible guys, right? Marquise Lee is a retired NFL athlete who runs his own nonprofit, and Justin Blum is one of my good friends who owns a very successful gym franchise called Raw Fitness. So, to be amongst those individuals meant a lot to me, and then to also be able to contribute and impact the community the way we did this year. We were able to raise $60,000 total amongst all of donations, and provide 1,700 backpacks to 3 Title I schools. So those are basically low income schools. So these kids were really in need of backpacks and school supplies this year, especially where Nevada is as far as education goes. So for us to be able to help them that way, it means a lot to me, because I grew up in a similar position, in low income, so it was really a cool experience this year to be a part of it. It
feels good doing stuff for other people, right? Yeah,
it always does. Yeah, especially something that you feel more strongly about.
Yeah.
So
where do you see the business going? I know you mentioned that there's a new opportunity for you that you're looking into with a new coach.
Yeah.
What is the next phase of Michael Sheedy Fitness?
Yeah. So, like I said, I have a mindset of how can I get better every day? Where can I do more? Which is both, it's been talked about in the past, like ambition is a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
On one end, you have this relentless energy that pushes you towards being better, but it's hard to shut off.
Yeah.
So that being said, I'm always figuring out, okay, how can I expand? I want to help more people. I want to do more. I want to have more life experiences, right? So for me, that means expanding my reach, right? So personal training is an in-person business, and I'm only, I only have so many hours in a day, right? So now my goal is to help other personal trainers create 6-figure incomes for themselves to be able to live the lifestyles that they want.
Yeah.
So that's
Which is really hard, by the way, because I know other trainers. I mean, to get to that level is not easy. So
but it's possible, and I appreciate it. Yeah, it's it comes down to a few factors. Branding, marketing strategies, client acquisition, client retention, business systems, and unfortunately, personal trainers are taught how to be good personal trainers in the gym and help people accomplish their fitness goals, but they're not well versed typically on the business side of things, which I've been able to not only learn from others but also educate and study myself, which is part of the reason why I've had the impact I've had, and so now I feel very strongly about helping people from a similar standpoint who've had a similar path that I've had, to be able to make the income that they want while doing what they love, which is helping people to accomplish their goals. So that's going to be the next pillar. That'll be a digital business. I'll be doing a seminar here in Vegas before the end of the year. So that's kind of some exciting stuff.
So it's so early on, there's no name or anything.
It'll be connected to my name. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be, Michael Sheedy Fitness. May change, but yeah, it's going to be just centered around me helping other entrepreneurs or fitness entrepreneurs create 6-figure incomes in personal training.
What's your goal for launching that? Do you have any idea timeline?
Timeline wise, I have a trip I'm excited about coming up here to Costa Rica in a couple weeks.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Going for the first time, taking my mom. But as far as timeline goes, next month. So October, we're going to be launching.
Oh, fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I have a coach in that space as well. So
cool.
I'm very excited about the possibilities of that, because I'm going to be able to help even more people than I'm helping now.
No, without doubt, because your reach is so much bigger, obviously, on the internet.
Yeah, on the internet. Yeah, digitally. That's where everything is. And for me, that's going to make most sense.
So last kind of business related question, and then we'll get into some funner stuff.
Okay,
right?
dope. Yeah.
But what was there like a pivotal moment, like where you were like, this thing happened to me, or this failure happened, whether it was from losing the job at Yard House or whatever that kind of sets you on your path? Is there anything you can think of that was like, okay, this is what I need to be doing, or I learned so much from this one experience? It's a tough question.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question. I really think just dating back to, not having a car when I was 18 and seeing all of my peers, you know, they were driving to college, they were doing that whole thing at 18, and I missed out on that experience because I had to ride a bus. So I actually didn't go to college right after high school because I didn't even have a car to go to college. I didn't start going to college till a year after because I didn't have a car. And I really think sitting there on that bus and telling myself, I remember telling myself, I was like, I will never, ever be in this position again.
Yeah.
And that is really the biggest character building moment in my life by far.
Yeah, no, that's you hit it dead on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Vegas in general. Like, you know, obviously the city's grown a lot. We started the podcast during right after the pandemic, because that's the whole name is, you know, looking forward into the future. And where do you see the city going? What are some things you're excited about Las Vegas in general?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I've been traveling a lot more, I would say, the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And just going different places. You know, I've been to a few states here, and I've been to, I went to Belize last year. We have so much opportunity in Las Vegas, as business owners, as you know, as even just the general public. There is so much opportunity for growth. I love the city. Where Las Vegas is going is incredible. We have so many new restaurants, so many new cool entertainment venues. You know, the cost of living is still fair. You know, the housing market, of course, went crazy.
The whole with
interest rates, the whole country with inflation. But I see the market correcting. You know, and I myself am looking to purchase property next year as well. But yeah, I just think Vegas is such an incredible place. It's so convenient. You know, things are open. You know,
all the time,
24 hours. It's changed a little bit since the pandemic. I don't know if you noticed that. Things used to be open later, but stores have adjusted their hours. But for the most part, everything's convenient. I mean, nothing's really too far in Vegas. So I think as a whole, if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, Vegas is a great place to be. There's so many ways to meet people and network, and you know, everybody kind of knows everybody. So
small town.
If you can help one person, you know, and you're good at what you do, there's no doubt that you can be successful in Las Vegas.
Yeah. And so what are some activities you like to do? I mean, I know you're busy, but are there certain things you like to do in town, or, you know, go out at night and the weekends? Like, what are some things you love about,
you know, funny enough, you know,
Herbs and Rye?
Yeah. You know, that's my spot. So you know, one thing I've really tried to do, you know, this year is allow myself some more downtime outside of working. So I love to go out to, you know, nice restaurants, have a nice meal with some friends. You know, Herbs and Rye is like one of my favorite places to go to. They have incredible food. Their service is great. They have good craft cocktails. So, you know, I love going out with friends and just, you know, doing that. You know, went to a comedy show recently. That was fun. You know, I love to travel, you know, so anytime I can travel, you know, I like to do that. You know, funny enough, just, you know, watching a movie for me is relaxing as well. Getting outside too whenever I can. You know, outside of fitness, I also have a hobby in boxing. So,
cool.
You know, that's something I'm also looking to do next year. I'm going to do an amateur fight. But yeah, so, you know, nothing too crazy. I don't really like to, honestly, I don't love to party. Like the nightclub thing isn't really for me. You know, if there's an event or something, you know, special that you know, I need to go to, you know, I'll go, but I don't love being in, you know, the loud environment and, you know, drinking until you're
it's not productive anyway.
It's just not. It's just not. Every once in a while, it's okay. You know, step out to, you know, a day club like we did. We had a fitness event earlier this year at Resorts World, which was awesome. They put my freaking face on the side of the building for like a fitness, the fittest of Las Vegas, and that was so fun. I didn't even drink that day when I was there. I was just drinking a bunch of energy drinks. But yeah, something like that. That's always fun. But yeah, I'm not really into the whole party scene. But there's so much to do in Vegas. You know, there's so many shows. There's so many new shows. Downtown is exploding.
They're off the strip. Like you said, there's countless restaurants opening up. There's always new things here, and you know, I think, you know, from my perspective, we're becoming more than just casinos, right? When I first moved here 20 years ago, that's all there was. Like everybody that lived here, worked here, you know, on the strip, right? And that's changed quite a bit. We got a lot of people pouring in from California. Thank you, Gavin Newsom.
Unfortunately. But I, you know, it's still a great place. Traffic's getting a little little bad. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of developments happening off the strip now. Like they have the Uncommons that's being built. They're going to be building potentially a basketball arena. 22,000 people
and baseball too.
Yeah,
I think,
so
too,
we
right?
have professional teams that are going to start coming here. Like I just feel like it's such a great place to live. It's hard for me to want to. Somebody's like, oh, would you live anywhere else? I'm like, maybe in the future, but right now, I mean, business is good. The city's exploding. So much opportunity. I don't want to leave.
I know. I always go visit other places, and I'm like, I kind of observe it. I'm like, oh, I really love this quality of it, but there's always something that's missing.
Yeah.
Whether everything shuts down at 8 p.m. or whatever, or
convenience. Dude.
Yeah, and it's just nice being here. I think this is a great place to have a home base.
I think so too.
And to be able to then travel, and because we're one of the best airports in the world.
Yeah,
and we can go anywhere,
dude.
Phoenix is 45 minutes. LA.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're close to everything.
Here.
It's exactly. When somebody says, this is my thought, Nick. When somebody says they don't like living in Las Vegas, I think they're entitled, or they just haven't experienced it the right way. That's my thought.
Well, it's a tough town. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people where this town can gobble you up and spit you out, right?
Because, suck it up.
Suck
it up.
Well, because there's a lot of vices to get into, and some people don't
have some discipline.
Exactly. That's
stop,
what it
stop
comes
getting
down
distracted.
to.
I could.
I survived it with no discipline.
Yeah,
so
and look at you. You turned out all right. Maybe about 15 pounds heavier than you'd like to be. No, I'm joking. But yeah, just take some discipline. Say no. Learn when to say no. Learn when to say yes. Enjoy yourself, but not too much.
100%. You got to have that balance.
Yeah, don't blame it on Las Vegas. Blame it on yourself.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thanks for everything you've done for me. I mean, I am older than you, but I've definitely learned a lot from you, and you've become a good friend of mine.
Appreciate that,
unlike Derek.
Yeah.
but I think you're an inspiration to a lot of people that want to become personal trainers. I think more importantly, people that can realize. I mean, you're like the total success story of someone that started off with little and made something happen, right? And that only came through hard work and dedication and a focus, right? And I think a lot of people watching this should take note of that, and I think that it's something that is attainable for anyone.
It is.
It's just a matter of doing it, right?
Yeah.
So that to me is the takeaway from today's podcast.
Yeah.
But so where can people find you? Maybe again you can announce later your future plans. But
definitely.
Where can people find you currently?
Yeah, so I'm very active on Instagram. That's the main platform that I utilize. So it's just at Michael Sheedy Fitness. Okay. I'm also on TikTok at Michael Sheedy Fitness. So yeah, if you want to find me there, my website's Michael Sheedy Fitness. If you're interested in personal training or nutrition coaching, those services are offered there. But I'm always giving out, nutrition tips. You see me posting motivational stuff all the time, and I put out some cool content on Instagram.
No, it's awesome. Great stuff.
Yeah, if you guys want to find me there and connect, I love connecting with new people, especially like-minded, individuals. So
awesome. Well, Mike, awesome. Thanks for coming down today, and really awesome conversation.
Yeah,
so best of luck to you, and
appreciate it.
In the future, I know you're going to kill it. So.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, you're the man. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks,
Solid.
man.